Welcome to today's live stream. I appreciate you guys checking it out. I'm going to share some thoughts on Alligator Alcatraz, and I want to hear your thoughts too. What are you thinking about it? Because I think it's pretty weird. I think it's another rich man's trick, to be honest. I think it's a distraction and a deception, but more so a distraction from bigger, more important issues that are going on. Someone on my Instagram page the other day said that she believes this. What was she saying? Oh, she was talking about Elon's, new American party. I don't know about it. I haven't heard about it. That's the first I've heard about it, because I gave up on all these, people in very influential positions in our world. I just don't have a need to check them out. She said she thinks it's a way to kind of buy time until they get their technocratic, digital PRISON in place. And I buy it. All they're doing is buying time. Every day that goes by that Americans don't, at least stop paying attention to the clowns, they get further down the road. I mean, Trump gave millions of dollars to Palantir and supposedly is, building that big, a big database center in Texas. So many weird things going on, and people still think he's on their team. I think or Larry Ellison, Oracle is involved. Texas data center. The prison is being built around us, and people still really don't see it. And I share this information and I make these videos as a recruiter. Like, I want to recruit people. I don't want you to be on my team and think like me. I just want you to look into it. Just an invitation to look into these things and look at it from a critical mindset and be like, hey, is this kosher? Is this on the up and up? That's all I want. I just want people to be guided from within, right? I'm not going to try to twist people's arms to think like I think. I just want them to look into these things. That's why I talk about these things. But this Alligator Alcatraz, it just seems like a low level topic, a low level thing for the government to be focusing on. How about, stop military spending to the tune of billions of dollars? How about get corruption out of government? How about, balance the, try to pay down the debt? How about not start tariff wars? All these things I think are far more important than to divide a country by talking about Alligator Alcatraz. It's a distraction. And the more I look at government, the more I think to myself, yeah, these guys they're WWE, right? They're WWE on steroids, political theater. That's what it feels like to me. I look at it and I'm like, what's going on? Why wouldn't you just deport them already? Why wouldn't you just send them back? But they got to spend all this tax dollars and put on this whole big show. Well, I know why they're not doing it. I know why they're doing it. They're trying to appease the Christian right. Well, not even Christian right, the right-wing base that voted for him. Because some people, I got to believe it's very few, believe the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. The government lets all these, undocumented people across the border. Of course, Americans are going to be freaking out. No country lets people across the border without knowing who they are. That's not a good gameplay. But our government did it because that was the problem. They created the problem to elicit a reaction from the American people to make them super mad about it. And then the solution is, well, we've got to give everyone a digital ID so we know who you are and where you are. It's Trump's biometric entry-exit visa tracking system. Remember back in 2016, he said, it's going to be on land, on sea, and on air, and it'll be the best thing since sliced bread. I don't want to be tracked by the government anymore, at all. I think this has always been their goal. I'm not sure why it's taken them so long. I've got a clip. I'll be sharing it on my social media and as a short, it's like I said, 2016 on land, on sea, on air. and he says, well, we need this desperately. It's been needed desperately. And I don't think it's been needed desperately. I think it's some sketchy stuff. But people buy that Hegelian dialectic. In fact, the three, I was going to tweet this out the other day, and I'll probably talk about it in future. The 3 or 4 most important ideas that I think all Americans should be paying attention to is know the Hegelian dialectic. What is it? How it's used by government, problem, reaction, solution. They always have a solution that they want, and then they just reverse engineer, and they can manipulate human beings to do things. So Hegelian dialectic is huge to know. False flag events are huge to know. That's how they move their agenda forward. Cloward pivot is huge to know. And mind control, programming and mind control and propaganda. That's how these things that's how they sway the American public in order to make them do things they wouldn't normally do. It's just one of those things. I don't know. It's a sketchy time, but I see all this stuff as political theater. Once you see one little crack and once you see one little truth, you can kind of see all of it, to be quite honest. And then it all becomes very clear, That's why I think a lot about the phrase falsus in unus, falsus in omnibus. If one thing's false, it's all false. If you find one lie that the government has perpetuated, let's say food, right? They're telling the FDA is saying, hey, yeah, food's good. It's all tested and approved, safe and effective. And you're a nutritionist and it's not. You just found falsus in unus, falsus in omnibus. Or let's talk about these wars. You could say, well, Afghanistan was a lie, right? We spent 20 years there, billions of dollars, lots of, 4,000 American lives, hundreds of thousands. I don't know how many in Afghanistan. I know hundreds of thousands or up to 3 million in Iraq. And that's a lie. We weren't spreading freedom and democracy. We were protecting the petrodollar in Iraq and Libya. That's a lie. You could come into falsus in unus, falsus in omnibus with that one, right? Once you start finding one lie, you could even go to the financial industry, right? The financial industry bailing out Wall Street, not bailing out Main Street. That's another lie right there. So many lies and deception upon lies and deceptions that once you see one, you're going to see them all, Anyway, there's my thoughts on Alligator Alcatraz. I think it's a distraction from bigger, more important issues that are going on. And it's important to be aware of it. So thank you very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. I'll catch you in the next one.